Hey everybody, this is Brandy with Smoky Mountain Stamping. Glad to be here. Hope everybody's having a good evening. Gonna just hang out here for a little bit, let this pop up in everyone's feed and see who hops on here. Hopefully we'll have a few folks hop on. So tonight we're gonna learn how to make a custom gift bag. So if you have something that you have always wanted to put in a gift bag, but you didn't know how people come up with all their measurements for that, we're gonna learn how to do that tonight. So while I'm waiting for folks to hop on here, I'm going to run and close my door real quick so that my cat doesn't interrupt us, because that would not be fun. So hang on one second. Whoops, there you go. Back. All right, so I'm just gonna hang out here for a minute. I'm gonna make sure I've got my comments up on my computer so that I can see what's going on over here and catch comments. All right, there we go. We'll see if I can keep that monitored. I don't know if I can or not, but so if you were here on Monday night, you know I have a new phone stand and the jury's still out. So I tell you what, trying to find something to get the system set the way you want to do these Facebook Lives is a pain, for real. So I'm just trying to figure out if I'm gonna like this stand or not. So anyway, we'll get some feedback along the way. Hey Holly Patterson, how are you doing? So I'm trying to get the system set up. So if you're somebody that does demonstration videos and you have a great setup, I would love to know what you use, because I'm just tired of trying out all these different stands. But the other night when I had it set up, evidently it was like really close in my face. And so luckily I have my daughter keeping me in line, because that's what daughters do, right? They keep us in line. So anyway, and I've lost my little bag that I just made as my sample. I don't know where it went. Holy guacamole. It was here and now it's gone. So we're going to learn how to make custom gift bags. So if you have little treats that you want to package up, these make great little table favors. Of course, you can make them any size that you want. You don't have to make a small little treat bag. You can make a bigger treat bag. You can actually use 2 sheets of 12 by 12 paper and make a really large gift bag. But I'm going to give you the kind of basic formula for how to come up with your measurements and your score lines. And hopefully that's something that's going to be useful for you, especially as we come into the holiday season and you want to start making gifts for your friends and family. If you're entertaining, you might want to, if you have folks over, you might want to have a little hostess gift to send out with your guests when they leave. So hopefully this will be something that is useful for you. So while we're still hanging out for a couple more people to pop on, just to let you know what's going on in Stampin' Up! World right now, we have our seasonal sale is going on, and so that goes through tomorrow. You get 10% off, let me make sure I get this right, 10% off cardstock, 15% off of our inks, and then 20% off of our dies. So that is a fantastic, fantastic deal. So if you've gotten some stamp sets, and after you get the stamp set, you think, oh man, I wish I bought the die for that. This is a perfect time to get that, so you'll get your 20% off of those dies. So make sure you check that out. I will put a hostess code in the comments later on so that you will know the host code to use. And I have it down here, so whenever I point my camera down, you'll get to see that. So if you would like to place an order with me, I would love for you to do that, but please use the host code. And everyone that places an order on this month's host code will get a free pack of rhinestones from me. And so just a little encouragement to place an order. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the video down. Well, no, minute, hang on a second. Let me see. Let me show you this real quick. Sorry, I found my little bag. I saw it on the floor. So this is a little treat bag that I made, and it's a tiny little treat bag. It uses a piece of 6-inch long or 6-inch wide designer series paper, and then this piece is actually, I think it was 7.5 inches long. So it's not a very big piece of designer series paper actually to make this cute little bag. And this was just some, this was our Celebration designer series paper. And a lot of times I'll use paper, and this honestly was not my favorite pattern. And so that's usually what I'll save designer series paper. If it's not my favorite pattern, I will kind of set it aside for making prototypes. So this helps me practice, and I don't feel bad. I don't feel like I'm wasting my really good designer series paper. I can save it for once I get all my measurements worked out, then I can go and use my good stuff. So let me just open this and show you what's inside. And so we have got 3 things in here. So I have a little packet of the Walker's shortbread cookies and a little Twinings chai tea, and a little Ghirardelli, let's say this way, a little Ghirardelli chocolate to go in there. Now that makes a tight little fit, so I'm probably going to make my bag just a little bit bigger, and that's how I'm going to show you how to come up with your own measurements. So if you'll give me just a second, I'm going to turn the camera down. I'm going to have to slide it over towards me just a little bit. So let me get this turned. There we go. You get to see my lovely ceiling there for a moment. There we go. There is our, whoops, sorry about that. Okay. And again, this little stand is being a little wonky on me. Let's see. I've got a light on this thing too. It's kind of cool. But I just don't know if it's going to work out or not. So we're going to figure it out. And I'm going to move my paper here so it's, this stand has like a gripper bottom on it, and I'm telling you what, it really does grip, which is good. That's a good thing. All right, let me see if I can get this helps me also know where to keep my stamping. Now that shadow is really going to drive me crazy. Hopefully it's not too bad. And we'll just see. I'm going to come down just a little bit. Get just a little bit closer so you can see my stamping a little bit better. Now, so here's our bag that we made, or that I made earlier. I'm going to get my notebook out so we have to do a little math, which I'll just be honest, is not my favorite thing. I hate math, to be quite honest, but math is very useful, especially at a time like this. So when I'm figuring out what size bag I want, I first of all need to look at what am I going to put in it. So this is what I was going to put in it. So I have let's keep a ruler close by. And so this package is just a little over 2 inches. So I would go probably 2.5. It gives me a little bit of room. So I need to write that down just so I know. And then I also need to know about how tall it is. So it's about, we'll say 4 inches tall. So that's the minimum that I'm going to need. And then from there, I have to think about, I've got 4 sides. So I don't need this to be really super thick, but I am going to make it a little bit wider than this. So what you have to do is just add up your 4 sides. So I'm going to do 2.5 inches. And then my next side is going to be 1.5. And so then my next side is 2.5, and then I'm going to do 1.5 and make it just a little bit thicker. So there we go. So we've got that. So let's come up with our measurement here. So 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 inches. So there's 8 inches. And then I've used a 6-inch piece of paper, and I only need, so typically, I will say this, typically whatever your measurement is here for this side is what your bottom piece is going to be. So this is 1.5, so I know I'm just going to need 1.5 there. So 1.5 for the bottom. Okay, now if we just left it at 8 inches, we would have no way to put our box together. So I always add a 1/2 inch to make a tab, and you're going to see how that works in just a second. So I need a 6 by 8.5 inch piece of designer series paper. So that's what we're going to do. Now, to figure out my score lines, so that's the second thing I need to do. I need to figure out where I'm going to score. So I'm going to score first at a 1/2 inch. And so I'm going to add a 1/2 inch to 2.5. So that's going to be 3 inches. And then I'm going to add 1.5 inches to that. So that's going to be 4.5. I'm crossing my fingers that this is all going to work out right. And then I'm going to add 2.5 to that. So that's going to be 7. And that should leave me with 1.5 inches, which it does. So that should be right. So our score lines along the long side are going to be 1.5, 3, 4.5, and 7. And then along the bottom is going to be 1.5. Okay, so I hope that that makes sense. If we want to go back through the math again, we can. But let me show you. I'm going to go ahead and cut some paper. And let's see if my math worked out. So let me grab my trimmer and swing out my arm here. Okay. And I'm going to make, let's see, I need to find some paper that I want to use. So we're using the Sweet Symmetry set at my Chicks and Chocolate class tomorrow night. So I'm going to use that paper. Now, the width of our bag is this way. So if you have a directional pattern on your paper, you want to think about that before you start cutting. And so I know this is a directional piece of paper, so I'm going to be careful when I cut that. And because I know that when I put this arm in and I bump it up right against this edge, I know that it's 6 inches. I'm going to use that. So I can get 2 of these bags out of one piece of 12 by 12 paper. And so I said I needed an 8.5 inch piece. So I'm going to put that 8.5. And I'm going to cut. I'll save this for later. Might need to use that. And so now I'm going to score. So I like to score backwards, basically, is the way it works out. So here are my score lines. So 1.5, 3, 4.5, 7. So I'm going to, since my paper is here, and I like to keep my paper along this edge as long as possible, I'm going to start with 7 and then work my way down. So there's 7. Now with our Designer Series paper, you do not want to press too hard with the scoring blade because it will tear the paper. So you have to be a little aware of that. 4.5 and then 3. And then 1/2. So because it's easier to do this, I'm going to flip it around, and then 1/2 inch is right here. And that's just easier for me, and I make sure that my paper stays really good and secure. So you can't really see those score lines, but I promise they're there. Let me set my trimmer aside and grab my bone folder. And so now I'm going to fold on all the score lines and hope that I have done my math right. I did it right the first time, so hopefully this second time will be right as well. And I'll show you a little trick that will let you know if you have done it correctly. So I have my little, oops, I forgot to score my bottom piece. Y'all didn't catch me on that. All right, so the bottom is at 1.5 inches. And so again, with our directional paper, you want to make sure you've got the pattern going the right way. So this is going to be my bottom. So at 1.5, right there, and score. So this is one of the great things about our paper trimmer is that you have a scoring tool and then you have a cutting tool. The biggest thing is make sure you don't get them confused. You don't want to cut when you're supposed to be scoring, because then you've messed up your paper. All right. So now what I can do to make sure I've done this correctly is I can fold my 1/2 inch piece down, and then if I fold it over and that matches up pretty close, I know that I've probably got my measurements right. So that's exciting. Yay, I got it right. All right, now, whenever you're making these bags, any kind of bag or box, you're almost always going to do this little number. So there's a little tiny, and it's hard to see, but you can see the paper bins that way, and then the paper bins here. So there's a little rectangle right here, and I will just mark it for you. So it's right here, and we've got our score lines are here, and this is going to be the inside of the bag, so we won't see these. So those are our score lines, just to make it a little bit easier for you to see. Because I know people get really intimidated making bags, but really once you've done it a few times, they're really not hard to do. And you pretty much have to do the same kind of thing every time. So we're going to cut away that piece right there. And then our two smaller ones, we're going to just taper these in just a little bit. And what that does is just kind of removes a little bit of the bulk when you're putting this together. And so you're just going to kind of cut those on an angle, and I'll show you how that is going to go in just a second. So there we go. So that's what it looks like on the inside. So let me just go ahead and cut this away. And then I also usually just kind of do a little angle, just a little miter right there. Now I didn't draw my pin lines in there very well, so they're not super straight. But the other thing I do is whenever you score, you end up having this little hump right here, and so I always put that to the inside of these tabs because I'm going to cut that away, and so that helps get some of that bulk out also. But we just cut straight up the line and put that little bump to the inside. And again, this is the piece that I'm going to cut away. So I'm going to put that bump towards the inside. And now I'm just going to come back and take that little notch. And you can do as much or little as you want. Sometimes it's easier to fold those back. And then you just go from there up to the corner. And then that takes out that little extra piece. And there you go. So we can turn over this way. So here's our bag. All right. So now to put it together, I'm going to take sweep those out. I'm going to use my Tombow glue. You can use tear and tape. Tombow is a really good glue. It's really sturdy. And I always give the warning, if you've never used it or if you don't use it often, just remember that you just need a little bit. And so then what I can do, I've got that folded in there. I can just fold my bag over and press it down. And I'm just going to take my bone folder, make sure it kind of spreads that glue in there really well, and let that sit for just a second. And then it doesn't take long for the Tombow to dry. And then you'll see there we've got a bag and we've got a bottom, and it was really easy to do, wasn't it? So now the way I also work this is, so this is my seam, and I always want my seam pointing towards the back. So it's coming up this way. So this is going to be the back of my bag. And so I set my bag down, and so I put this one in first, and then I fold the two sides in, and then I fold this so that this seam back here is going to be also pointing to the back of my bag. So I hope that makes sense. And because I'm not putting anything super heavy in this bag, I don't need a lot of glue. I just need a little bit, so I'm just going to put a little swirl on these two tabs, put those in, and then just come around my edges, put just a little bit there. And then I'm going to make sure that my bag is squared up. And that's a good thing about using the Tombow, is you have just a minute or so. If your bag's not squared up, you can move it around a little bit. And then I'm going to turn it over and just press it down with my bone folder on the inside. So there we go. And then you can just push in your little sides. And there's lots of different ways you can close these up. So you can, on this one, I just took a hole punch, punched a hole in there and ran my ribbon through it and tied it up. You could use, I've got a clip here, so I could take this clip, put it there, and I could tie some ribbon on there and close it up. If you have something that's a little fancier, a fancier clip, you could do that. Something else you could do is kind of, could come in here and kind of pinch a little bit this way. I guess not, because it's not more, if it was a more square bag, I could do that a little bit better. You could also tie a ribbon around and then tie it closed. That way you could staple. There's all kinds of ways you can do it. But now let's put our treats in here. So I've got our Walker shortbread, I've got a chai tea, and then I've got a Ghirardelli chocolate, and they all fit in there perfectly. Now, because this is 1.5, it's a little, so you can see the difference in the size of the bag. So I did both of these bags the exact same way. I figured my measurements the same way, but I wanted just a little bit more space in here. And so that's how that worked. Okay. So I'm trying to watch the comments and see if you have any questions about making one of those little bags. If you want me to, I can go through it and do it again because it's super easy. And I may just do that and I may make one that's this size, another one. And then of course you would stamp and decorate your bag, and I'll do that in just a few minutes. But let me see, I've got, a lot of my paper is still packed up from our weekend stamping retreat. So let me run over here and grab my box here. But we had a team stamping retreat up in Gatlinburg, and we had a fantastic time. And so I still haven't gotten all my stuff unpacked and put away. And wouldn't you know it, I think I may have used up all of my I think I used up all of my Christmas paper when we were up there. So that's okay. I'm going to use this paper because I love this paper. So let's do this again. And we're going to do math again. Sorry. So again, we've got 4 sides, so we have to know what our 4 sides are going to be. So this one, let me measure it. I think it's 2.5. Yeah, it's 2.5 and 1 inch, and then the bottom is going to be 1 inch because your bottom is always going to be, or usually is going to be the same as what your side is. So we have 2.5 plus 1 inch plus 2.5, and I always go around my box like that instead of doing it, just because I make sure that I don't mess it up. Plus 1 inch equals, so 2, 4, 5, 6, that's 7 inches. And then remember, we always add a 1/2 inch to make our little tab. So we're going to need 7.5 inches. And then this is a 6 inch wide, and our bottom is going to be 1 inch. Okay, so then we have to figure out our score lines. So we always score on that 1/2 inch first, and then we're going to add 2.5 inches. So that makes 3 inches. We're going to add 1 inch, that makes 4 inches, and we're going to add 2.5 inches, and that makes 6.5 inches. And that should be all we need. And then our bottom is going to be at 1 inch. Okay, so hopefully I didn't go too fast. And you can always come back and watch the video, and so you'll know how to do it. You can work through it with me. So let me get my trimmer out one more time. And this is going to be a beautiful little bag. And again, with our trimmer, if you have the arm closed in, and you just butt your paper right up against that, it is automatically at 6 inches, and that's what we want. Now we don't have to worry about our paper. This is not necessarily a directional paper, so we don't have to worry about that too much. And then we need 7.5 inches. So let's cut 7.5. You could also do this with cardstock. If you want a really sturdy, strong bag, you could do that. All right, so now we're gonna score, and let me just show you, because I showed you scoring on our trimmer, but let me show you scoring on our scoring tool. And when I'm making boxes, I tend to like to use this better, or boxes or bags, just because it's all right there, and I can do all. I don't have to move my paper, which is always nice. And so it comes with a little stylus. And let's see here. So let me bring my measurements in. So we're going to score at 1/2 inch. Now when you're scoring designer series paper, there's 2 ends to your stylus. So let me go over this way. So you have a skinny end and you have a fat end. So when you are scoring designer series paper, you want to use the fatter end, because it's going to, if you use the skinny end, it could pierce the paper easier. So you're going to use the fatter end. The skinnier end is for, kind of move that back a little bit, is for cardstock that you need to have a deeper score line. I hope that makes sense. So we've got 1/2 inch, and then 3 inches, and then 4 inches, and then 6.5 inches. Excuse me. And then I'm going to rotate 90 degrees. Is that 90 degrees? I think so. And then I'm going to score 1 inch. And again, you just, if you're doing a directional pattern, you just want to pay attention to what direction your paper's going. So that's scoring with our scoring tool. And when I'm making a lot of, especially if I'm making a bunch of these, I really like using that better. And something else people always ask me is that how do you know which way, once you've scored, what is the correct direction for folding your paper? So you want your outside pattern, you want that to be facing you. And so that way you know that that's when you start doing your folding, that's what's going to be on the outside. So it makes a little mountain. I don't know if you can see here. So where you score it, it creates a little valley. And then on the inside, it creates a mountain. And so the mountain always stays in the middle. That's how I remember it. Okay. So let's get that scored. And then our little 1/2 inch tab here. And then here's the bottom. Whoops. Okay, and the same thing, we don't need that one little corner. So I'm just going to come in here and take that out. All right, and then I have my my small little tabs, and again I cut it so that the mountain stays towards the middle, because I'm going to go in and notch. So then that takes that little mountain right out and gets rid of some of that bulk. If I can get that little flap to go back. And the angle that you do this on is totally up to you. Some people make really big ones and some people barely, and some people don't even do it at all. You don't have to, but I do like to get rid of that little bump on there. All right, so I get my green glue or my Tombow liquid glue and just put a little bit of that on here. And once I get some of it on there, I stop squeezing, and then I just use the tip to spread it around, so that way that helps me to not get too much on there. And then I fold over, and that's always a yay moment, because I know that I got it right. So then when I'm gonna fold it up, we know we got it right. So yay. So again, here's my seam back here. So I always want that towards the back. And so I fold, let's see, I fold my sides in. That's what I should have done on the other one. I think I didn't do that. And again, I'm not putting something super heavy in here, so I'm just gonna put a little bit. And then I try to make sure I get it squared up as much as possible. And then once it's had a second to sit, then I come in with my bone folder and press it on the bottom. And so that I've got my seam here, and then this flap is coming towards the back, and so I know that's going to be the back part of my bag. So there we go. Now, if I was only putting the shortbread in here, which is what I originally planned to do, was just the shortbread, and then I thought, oh, well, you know, you can't just give them shortbread. You got to give them, you know, a little pouch of tea or some chocolate to go with it. And so then my little bag got a little tighter, but it did fit in here. So the tea and our little Ghirardelli will fit in here. And so wouldn't these just be sweet to sit on your table and have these at your table ready for your guests when they come in? Or you could have them sitting on, you know, by the door, and then you could hand it out to them as they leave. So there's our little bag. Here's our Christmas deer version. And again, on this one, I just took a hole punch. And we don't sell these little circle punches anymore. But, you know, if you've got a circle punch around, just use whatever you've got. You don't have to have anything fancy. You could tie a bow. I just tied this in a loose knot so that it would be easy for whoever gets this to untie it. And this ribbon is a little bit uncooperative. Let me get my ribbon scissors here. And then you can go in and just trim those. And then you could just add a little tag to that. I'm going to make a little tag for this bag. And then we will tie it up. So let me see what I've got here. This is the stamp set we're using for Chicks and Chocolate tomorrow night. I have a couple spots open, so if you didn't get registered in time and you would like to come to Chicks and Chocolate tomorrow night, just leave a comment here, let me know, and I will get with you and make sure that you know all the information. It's 6 o'clock tomorrow night at Woodlawn Christian Church in South Knoxville. And so let me get some scrap paper here. One thing that I like to do is I like to go ahead when I'm die cutting. I try to die cut a whole bunch of stuff at one time. It just makes it easier for me so that I don't have to pull out my die cutting machine every time I need something. So I think I'm going to use this tag, and this is from our Tailored Tags dies, and so all of these tags are from that Tailored Tags. And there's one size in here that's missing because we are using it tomorrow night for our Chicks and Chocolate. But it's nice to just have those ready to go. And I'm going to use the Thanks So Much stamp and grab a block. Got some of my blocks already packed up for tomorrow night. Let's see. All right, so we got these. So this is our Photopolymer Stamp. And so if you're using photopolymer, one of the differences between our photopolymer and our red rubber stamps is there's no cushion on here. And so this is our Stampin' Pierce mat. And so I always use that underneath there. It just gets you a better, cleaner image. And so here's our tag. And so our little bag here, this looks like Calypso Coral and Flirty Flamingo. But if I'm not sure, and I've shown you this trick before, but I always like to show it, the backing that comes with our Designer Series paper right here shows you the colors that are in here. So we've got Bumblebee, Calypso Coral, Flirty Flamingo, Night of Navy, Just Jade, and Whisper White. So I know that if I use any of those colors, they're going to match. So this is Just Jade and Calypso Coral. So let me grab those stamp pads back here. Let's see. Just Jade. All right. And so I'm going to stamp Thanks So Much in Just Jade. Just kind of right there in the center. Whoops, perfect. I'll get my chamois over here and try. I'm terrible about cleaning my stamps as I go, so trying to be good, trying to be better. And then I'm going to just stamp some flowers on here. And let's see, we've got Actually, I could do that Calypso Coral and Flirty Flamingo. And so I'm going to pull both of those out. Let me close up Just Jade here. So again, our, oh, that's a mess. I need to clean that up. Our ink pads are on sale right now for 15% off. So if you need to stock up on ink, replace anything, now is a perfect time. So this is our Calypso Coral. And I'm just going to, let me get a piece of paper under here because I do not want to get that all over my, my little mat. So where is that? Okay. I got a little piece that goes with Stamparatus. There we go. Oh, I love that. And then I'm going to come in with my little stamp, and I made a mistake and I took it off. All right, does anybody see my little stamp on my on my desk? Oh my goodness. That's the one thing about the photopolymer stamps is it is so easy to lose these on your counter. Let me put this one, get that one put away. Where did that sucker go? Oh, there it is. It's on my mat. Okay. This is the way it goes sometimes. This is real life. All right, so there's my little flower, and this is Flirty Flamingo. And so I'm just going to kind of come here and fill this in and wipe that one off and put it right back so I don't lose it. There we go. Close up my ink pads. It's about time for me to start replacing some of my ink pads, so I probably need to get in there and order some. So there is our tag, and let's bring that, here's our bag, and let me see what ribbon we're going to use. I've got some white ribbon that I'm going to pull out. I can find it. I'm going to use this because this is in our Christmas catalog right now, and it's white and it's sparkly and I love it. And so I want to use it before it retires. I'm hoping that they'll bring this back in because it is just beautiful. So I don't know if you can see those sparkles in there, but I love that. So I'm just going to cut my ribbon at an angle and feed it through. I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna close this up. Let's put something in here before we do it. That'll help keep it in place. The other thing I was gonna show you, now is a great time. These Biscoffs are also, 2 of these would fit in here really well. And then you could put some chocolate in there. So finding any kind of little treats like that are really good. All right, let's see. And I'm just gonna cut that, and I'm just gonna tie just overhand one time so it stays on, maybe. There we go. And I'm gonna trim that. Now, I think I'm going to wrap this. So you never know. I never know really what I'm going to do. This is crafting on the fly. But I think I would like to do it this way. So I'm just going to, and this will keep it closed, and then I can put the tag on the front over top of this. And then I tie a bow, and that way it's easy for my recipient to get into this. So let me know what you think about this. I hope that showing you how to come up with the math to make these was helpful. Make sure you hit those thumbs up and the likes and the hearts and all that jazz. If you're watching on replay, let me know where that you watched it and where you're watching from, and if it was helpful. So there we go. I love the sparkles. All right, let's trim those up. And then I'm going to take a dimensional, and I probably need to put some bling on there at some point, although the ribbon is going to give us some bling. And I'm really just going to take 2 dimensionals here, and I'm going to let that, I spread them out so that it can kind of straddle. Let's see, I don't know how I want to do that. I think I'm just going to do it to the side. There we go. So there's our little bag. Now you could just take this and tie this with some twine and wrap it around here. However you want to do it is perfect. So everybody likes to do things differently, and so however you want to do it, it works out. Let me know if you have any questions about that, and I will post a little graphic of how to come up with the measurements for these bags. And I'm going to put some papaya ribbon on this one because I really love this bag too. My goodness. Now the other thing you could do is you could wrap your ribbon this way. So you've got this kind of pinched in here, and then you can kind of keep it that way. Getting the ribbon down the first time is the tricky part. But this is just another way to do it. Nothing like not being able to tie a bow when you're trying to show people how to tie a bow. How about that? All right, there we go. And then again, you can just take you could take your little tag that you make, whatever one it is, and use some linen thread and just kind of dangle it from this bow. And I always have to kind of finesse my bows. Always pull my loops down about as small as I can. And then when they're small like that, then I can pull really tightly on them until the loops get to the size that I want. There we go. And then I can just come in, and sometimes I like to leave the tails longer. It just depends on the kind of ribbon that I'm using as to how it's going to lay when I do that. So there, that's another way to close it. And then, or you could make a little medallion and put that there. I've got some little pieces cut here, but they're not ready, but you could just make your little tag, and then you could attach it with dimensionals right on the front, or you could poke a hole in there and then tie it with ribbon and just have it kind of hang in there. If you do that, you can also, even when you have it dangling there, you can always put a dimensional on the back just to kind of keep it in place so it's not flopping all over. Any way that you want to do it, you can do that. So let me bring our bags in. So we've got 3 different paper styles here, and I hope that was really helpful. So let me just recap some things that are going on with Stampin' Up. We have the seasonal sale that ends tomorrow night at midnight. Cardstock is 10% off. All of our inks are 15% off, and all of our dies are 20% off. So it's a really great time to stock up, get your craft room ready to go for your holiday crafting, especially, you know, your basic white and your thick basic white, all those things that you need, the card bases. That's it's a perfect time to get those. We also have, which this is the best deal always in the catalog, is our starter kit. And our starter kit is $125 worth of Stampin' Up product, and you get to choose that product. While I'm talking, I'm going to go ahead and turn my camera back so that you can see me. So it's $125 worth of product, and let's see if I can get my camera flipped. And you get to pick all of it. You know, sometimes with companies, when they have their starter kits, they they pick out the supplies for you. And that wears me out because sometimes I either already have some of the stuff that's in the kit and so I don't want more of it, or I just don't like what they pick out for me. So the great thing about our Stampin' Up! Kit is you get to pick everything in your kit. It's $125 worth, and it's only $75 right now. So you're getting $50 of free product. And then you're also going to get free shipping. So that's another 10% savings on top of that. No pressure ever to sell. You can just enjoy purchasing all of your Stampin' Up! Products at a 20% discount. And you can do that for as long as you want. If you decide you want to stop doing it, you can just drop and you can go back to purchasing from your demonstrator. It's really a great way to do it. That's the way I signed up. That's the whole reason when I signed up almost 20 years ago. It's hard to believe. I signed up for the discount and I never intended to do anything with it. And there's been times where I started and I decided, well, maybe I'll try and do a little bit. And then life got busy, I had a baby, and I went back to college, did all these things, and so I just backed up and just used my discount again for a long time. So it's really flexible. That's the beautiful thing about it. It's also, we have a great community of stamping friends. We get together once a month with our team, and we learn new techniques. We talk about what's going on in Stampin' Up! We recently rented a cabin in Sevierville and had a great crafting weekend. So much fun. And so we would just love to grow that group and just, keep adding more friends to our stamping family. So if you're interested in that, please let me know. I would be happy to have you join our Smoky Mountain Stampers team, and I'd be happy to help you do that. If you need help placing your order for the seasonal sale, let me know. I'll be glad to place that order for you or walk you through the process. Just let me know how I can help you. And that's all for now, and I will see you guys for sure next Wednesday at 8 o'clock. And maybe before that, depending on what's going on, if I get some time, I may pop on here a few more times and show you some things to help you get ready for Christmas and give you some ideas about how to make some cute little treats and gifts for your friends and family. So hope you have a good night, and I will see you guys later. Thanks.